did this a couple weeks ago, and I also did the Oakley Mini 10K, and both of them I was like 1 minute over 1 hour for my 10K time. The first time I think I was exactly 59 seconds over, and then I was like, okay, that was the mini 10K, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna run the Queen's 10K. If I ran the other one that fast, I can just push a little bit harder, and I still didn't make it. I was so annoyed. These are all of my numbers so far. And my medals. I did like one. This was the only one I think I did that didn't have a race medal, and then they're so stupid, but I was annoyed. The Oakley Mini 10K, that was a women's race. This was the first road race I ever did in Central Park. This is the first half marathon I did like a month later. This was another women's race in Central Park, half marathon. Did the Brooklyn half. Also did the Queens 10K. I didn't register in time for the Staten Island half or the Bronx 10K. So that means I don't get automatic entry into the NYC half marathon next year, but I can still qualify for the marathon. So I run 9 races for them, and then I volunteer at 1. They don't have to be long. They can be like this 4-miler. Then I get a guaranteed entry for the 2016 New York City Marathon. So that's what I want to do. Okay, it's pretty late now. It's like actually after midnight, so it's August 4th right now, but this is still my August 3rd video, 12 days out. I wanted to do a little Instagram question and answer. I only got 2 people who asked me questions, but one of them asked me a couple different questions. The first question came from the Mike Doyle, who interviewed me for his website, Paleo Riot. I'm going to put a link down in the bottom to the interview and also to his website, which is awesome. He basically just like travels around the country. He's also from New Jersey, eating paleo and living like a nomadic lifestyle, and he keeps everybody updated to what's going on. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. His question is, do you suggest carving it up on a rest day before a heavy lift day? I think it depends on what your goals are. That's something I would have done if I wasn't in prep and trying to I'm not really trying to lose anymore. I'm trying to maintain, but if I wasn't trying to be at an unusually low level of body fat, if your goal is performance, if your goal is to gain weight, then definitely. If your goals are strictly fat loss, then I would say no, not to carb it up before a heavy lifting day. But if your goals are strictly fat loss and you're eating on a deficit, you still want to be lifting as heavy as you can, but you're going to have to accept that you're not going to be making major strength gains or major muscle mass gains unless you're a very new beginner to lifting. Yes and no is the answer to that question. I also got a couple questions from Hercules90S, Hercules.90S. How long have you been working out? I used to work out in high school. I used to work out in college. I had a personal trainer a couple years ago. This round of me working out started about 2.5, 3 years ago. But I still had a knowledge of the gym before that. In high school, I kind of had a case of like fuck around-itis where I would just like go to the gym and fuck around. I would hang out on the treadmill for a little bit, and then I would do some of the weight machines. I didn't really do free weights. I was like 17 or 18, so that kind of worked out fine for me. I also didn't know much about nutrition, so I just tried to restrict my calories as much as possible to stay thin, and then like do cardio a lot, and then like light, like high rep, low weight lifting, typical stuff. I was pretty thin, but I didn't really have a low body fat percentage. I was just kind of skinny fat. I started gaining weight more in college, but I still was working out, just not eating right. At some point towards the end of college, I got a personal trainer who didn't think that women should ever lift more than 10 pounds. I stuck with that for a year and obviously looked exactly the same at the end of the year. Every workout was exactly the same, and we never upped the weight ever. I did that 3 times a week for an entire year and nothing changed. And the cardio he had me doing was like elliptical, really slow. It was like so weird that that person was even a personal trainer. Yeah, that was like so wrong. After all that and just like progressively seeing things not really changing the way I wanted to, I just kind of like fell off the wagon and stopped doing it altogether, because I thought it wasn't doing anything at all, but then I just got even worse out of shape, and I didn't really gain that much weight. maybe like 10 pounds, but I was so inactive, so I was losing lean mass and just like looking so much fatter. Like I looked way fatter at that weight than I had before at that same weight. Because like I was like around 170 at that time, but I had been 170 before in college and I was still like too fat, but I looked okay. And then this time around it was just a mess. So I had to do something about that. So I started working out about, yeah, 2.5, 3 years ago this time. Second question, when did you decide you wanted to start doing competitions? I guess about a year ago. I never had a goal of doing competitions, although I was spending a lot of time looking at the workouts that bikini competitors were doing and trying to do a lot of research into what they were doing because I thought they had really great bodies, and I never thought that I would ever get anywhere close to that. I'm not saying I'm on like the level of some of those people because I was looking at like Amanda Latona and things like that, and she's amazing, but I never thought I would even get to this level that I'm at now at all. I always was thinking, okay, like if I work out, I thought there was something genetically about them that made them magical, and to be fair, they are like beautiful people, but you can achieve things beyond what you think you can if you put your mind to it. That's what I've learned. So I was thinking, okay, if I follow these workouts, if I'm so strict with my diet, if I just do like 110%, I'll maybe achieve like 20% of their goals in the end, and like that'll be the best I can do. But I tried really hard. I worked really hard. I started seeing the changes, and then I just was looking in the mirror one day and I was like, I'm starting to kind of look like that. Like I'm starting to look like I could do a bikini competition because I've been basically preparing for one without actually trying to prepare for one, just because that's the type of workouts that I was doing and the way I was eating. So I only started prepping about 6 weeks out. It was about 6 weeks out that I started feeling that way. And by like working out over the years and building up quality lean muscle before I did this, that helped me raise my metabolism to the point where I could do this without having to dip into a ridiculously low amount of calories every day. Question number 3. What did you have to do different, as in workout routines, to prepare? I've actually cut out a lot of the long distance running. I never really considered that part of my like aesthetic training. That was always something, again, that I did for enjoyment. I know that sounds weird. I ran one time in a snowstorm at 1 o'clock in the morning, 6 miles. At that time, I was not at a calorie deficit. At that time, I was eating quite a bit more calories than I am now because I was accounting for the fact that I was doing a lot of long distance running. And also, I was trying to preserve mass. I would lift still 4 or 5 times a week, but I lifted more kind of on an intuitive basis. I would go into the gym and think, oh, what am I going to do? I wouldn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan. And to be fair, that worked out pretty well for me. Most of the muscle mass that I have was built during that time. Probably none of it was built during this last 6 weeks that I have changed my routine up a little bit. The only thing that I've changed is that I've really maintained a good schedule. I've kept to a really strict schedule of lifting different body parts on different days. So I've dropped the long distance running in favor of high intensity interval training, because now that I'm eating at a deficit, I do feel like I could burn off muscle mass doing too much long distance running. A lot of my cardio morning workouts are fasted versus before, when I would never do fasted workouts because I was always going longer and running. Right now, the key is to maintain. I keep saying it, you're not really building muscle on a deficit. The key is to activate your muscles adequately to make sure that you're not losing any muscle mass. And so that's always my goal. I'm trying as hard as I can to make sure that I'm activating every muscle group multiple times a week so that I can maintain my muscle mass and keep burning fat and not muscle throughout this process. I have lost a little bit of strength, but I'm still staying pretty strong, all things considered. All right, 4th question, where are you from? I am from New Jersey, my friend, and it is the greatest state in the nation.